Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm super excited because I am doing a dupe video where I have the ABH Sultry palette and then I was gifted the Temptress palette from Alter Ego. The Temptress palette is made to dupe the ABH palette, and so the Temptress palette is here at the bottom. Here's the ABH. There's a slight difference in the physical pan size, and the Alter Ego does change up the order of the pans. So sometimes that's a little tricky to like line them up, but they are, they're pretty good dupes. Let me tell you, the Temptress palette is a pretty good dupe. So in this video, hang on, I'm just checking the net weight. So for some reason, the Temptress palette is not telling me the net weight, so I can't compare that. But the price difference is astronomical. And more importantly, the Sultry palette was a limited edition palette. It came back during the holidays. I don't know if you can still get it. And so if you like the color story, the Temptress is like a great plan. So in this video, what my hope is number one, show you some swatches. Let me be honest, I'm not a swatch goddess, although I love to swatch. Like my kids always see me down here swatching everything up. So show you the swatches and then show you some, well, two looks, one that I'm wearing right now, where I put the ABH palette on one eye and the Temptress palette on the other. So let me look down and see if you can tell which is which. One eye completely done with the Temptress palette, one eye completely done with the ABH palette. And in this video, I'm showing you another look. I had meant to film them this and that on the same day, but life happened. So anyway, you'll get to see another look, but let me know down below in the comments if you can tell which one is the difference. And in a moment, I'll tell you which one is which. The additional things I have on my eye, just so that I'm transparent, is I have the Tardis liner in the lower inner rim and also on the lash line at the top. And then I used the Climax mascara from NARS. It's a great mascara. I'm loving it so far. And the Thrive Cosmetics and the lower lash. So everything else though is the same. I used the same primer, the Alamar eye primer, and I used the same brushes. I just cleaned them in between. So let me talk to you a little bit about the swatches. Like, look, this is how you know I'm not a professional swatcher, because what am I doing with my arm here? I don't know what to do. But anyway, the colors that I used today, let me individually swatch them so you can see. And then, like I said, you'll see a completely different look towards the end of this video. So I started both eyes, excuse me, with the more, I would call it the more tan shade. I have some staining on my hands from the swatches, but I use the color Birch in the ABH, and that is the same as the color Lust in the Temptress palette. Then I went into the color Teak in the ABH palette, which is the same as the color Stiletto in the Temptress palette. So this is the shade that's kind of all over my lid. You do see a slight difference here, but when it's on the eye, I thought they were very, very similar to one another. Then in the outer edge, I used the black. So in the ABH, it's called Noir, and in the Temptress palette, it's called Stiletto. I didn't see too much of a difference when I was applying these in blacks. I think are pretty challenging to use, to be honest. But both of them I thought worked really well. That's in the outer edge of my eye. And then in the lower rim, I went back to that original shade, Birch and Lust, and I used a little bit of the deep brown. In the ABH, it's called Dystopian, and in the Temptress palette, it's called After Hours. So very similar shades as well. Then in my very inner rim, I have a tiny bit of the Pearl shade from ABH, and the color in the Temptress palette, it's called Seduction, which I don't know if I see seduction in this color, but whatever. So for this look, I mean, can you tell? Should I tell you now? So this eye is the ABH palette, and this eye is the Temptress palette. So as you continue watching this video, you'll see me apply a whole different look. And then I also give you my thoughts at the end of this video regarding, which one I would recommend, how I feel about the formula, how it feels to own both, and all of that. So I hope you keep watching. And if you're interested in these kind of videos, kind of duping a more expensive palette with a less expensive palette, I'm really interested in getting more Alter Ego palettes. They dupe Natasha Denona, which is one of my favorite palettes or favorite brands. So it would be interesting to get more. So if you're interested in watching, let me know, comment down below, and enjoy the rest of the video. Bye. Did I mention I was going to show you swatches? Did I? Okay, I'm going to put swatches in right now. So here are the swatches of the two. ABH is on the top, Temptress is at the bottom, and yeah, okay, enjoy. Okay, so let's get started. I am going to use my right eye for the Sultry palette, and I'm going to use the Temptress palette on my left eye. So I've already primed with Milani eye primer, and I'm going to use the same brushes. I'm just going to clean them in between each time. Now, when I've tried this before, here are some minimal things that I've noticed. That the ABH palette is much more powdery. I think everyone knows that about their formula. I remember, by the way, I'm going to go into Twig, this shade. I remember when the Subculture palette came out and everyone was freaking out at how powdery it was. And I'm like, why is anybody surprised? All of her palettes are powdery. So you'll definitely see kick up. By powdery, I mean kick up. Like, it's not chalky or anything on the eye. You just gotta make sure you tap it off. And the Temptress palette, I don't see that kind of kick up. So that is one big difference, which you may definitely appreciate if you're a person that really doesn't like that kick up. So I'm just working this just as a transition shade. So that was 2 dips into the product. And you'll understand why I'm saying dips, because that will become important. All right, so then the coordinating color to Twig is Uptown, this color right here. And I will do swatches so you can see them when I'm done. So there's hardly any kick up in the pan at all. I'm going in for dip number 2. So what I can tell when I look at it is I have more pigmentation on this eye than this eye when I dip in twice. So I'm gonna go into a 3rd time into Uptown. And with ABH, I literally touch once and I feel like I have enough product on my brush. This one I have to tap in a couple times. Now I can still see a little bit more depth on this side, but they're pretty even at this point. Okay, so the next shade I want to try is the Bloom shade, and then in the Temptress palette, it's called Blush. I do wish that they were in the same place, to be honest, because that's one of the tough things. I mean, I'm picking colors that are like pretty obviously supposed to dupe one another, but some of the shimmers are a little bit hard. So this I'm just going to work in my outer crease because I'm going to use that kind of rose gold shade. Rose quartz it's called. So I'm just building a little bit of color in my outer crease and then in the crease itself. This isn't really like a eyeshadow tutorial if I ever make them. This is more like a let's see if the colors match. And I'm sure you've noticed, like, sometimes you'll see shades that look different when they're swatched on the hand, but when you put them on your eye, they're the same. So that's what I'm trying to see here. In practicality, are they the same? Okay, so that's Bloom on this side. Then I'm wiping my brush and let's get Blush on the other eye. This one has a little bit more kick up, actually quite a bit more kick up than the shade Uptown. And then now let's go into the rose quartz, and in the Temptress it's called Champagne. So I'm just going to apply that with my finger. I always apply shimmers with my finger. And then Champagne from the other palette. This one feels a little bit thinner. when I look at it, it looks a little bit less pink. Okay, so those are those two. Now for the bottom rim, I want to put a little bit of a shimmery shade and then some of the dark brown. This is where I have a little bit of trouble. So this is the Temptress palette, and the shimmers are very, so this is Mistress and Ritz, and the coordinating shades are just a little bit hard to find. Okay, I think Cinder and these are the ABH ones, and these are the Temptress ones. They are different. So I think Cinder and Ritz are supposed to be dupes for one another. So let's do that one because I think that one's the most clear. So this is Cinder in the ABH. I'm just gonna use it with a round shader. And work that on the lower rim. And then I'm gonna pick up Ritz. I don't think this is an issue when you're just using the palette by itself, obviously. Like, you're not gonna try to dupe it every day. And then with the same brush, I'm also going to dip into the darkest shade. So this is, or the dark brown. This is Dystopian, and in the Temptress palette, it's called After Hours. I'm just gonna do a little bit of that in the outer rim. And I'm gonna work it up a little bit into the upper rim, just so that I have a little bit of depth in this outer corner. Just like that. Wipey, wipey, wipe. Okay, so After Hours is definitely hard pressed. Good. Okay, so let me put liner, mascara, the same on both eyes, and then I'll come back and let you know what I think. Okay, so here is the finished look, just so you know what's on my eyes. I have Mr. Bing liner from ColourPop, just in the upper, like the upper lash line, and then in the inner rim. And then I have the Climax mascara from NARS. I said Mars. And the Thrive Cosmetics mascara at the bottom. I think I just called this a liner. It's a mascara. Anyway, so can you tell the difference on the two eyes? Sorry if you have some, if I have some mascara smudges on this eye. I don't know if I do. So here's what I have to say about them. They're very similar, like incredibly similar. I think the shimmer is slightly like better for like an aging eye or whatever kind of eye I have. I'm almost 40. It's slightly better on the Sultry side, like the ABH side. But yesterday I did the same thing with a different look. Same primer, same everything, and actually the Alter Ego lasted longer, which if I'm going to spend time doing an eyeshadow look, I certainly want it to last. So I don't know if it was that combination of shades or what. I'm still gonna test that out and I'll kind of report back. But I think that they are very much dupes. Like, really, I mean, that was the point of them. And I think this formula on the Temptress side is a very good formula. I'm sometimes a makeup snob, but I want the real thing. And so I'm glad that I have the Sultry palette, but the one benefit of the Temptress palette is the fact that there isn't as much kick up. Now there was kick up with Bloom, and you can actually see a little bit of it there, but everywhere else, it was very like, it didn't have that kind of mess. And the ABH palette, you can see on a bunch of shades, like the kick up that is going to occur. So if that bothers you, if like having a messy palette bothers you, then I would definitely go for the Temptress. And for a while when the Sultry palette was completely out of stock, this was such a good move by Alter Ego because I love this color story, 100%. It's like my favorite ABH palette. And so if I never got the Sultry palette, I would have been running to get this one. So all in all, I think this is a great dupe. I can't wait to find, to try more Alter Ego palettes and see how they compare. I know they really love to dupe Natasha Denona, which is one of my favorites. So it'd be great to compare the two and see how it goes. I did try the Artemis palette, but I don't have that in ABH, the Metropolis palette. So I couldn't do like a side-by-side. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope that helped if you're thinking about picking up the Alter Ego palette. Hope that my review helped you. I'm just going to keep looking down so you can see if you can tell any difference. And with that, I hope you have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.